on the constitutionality of the election of order bill. But remember, the issue of election in Kenya, I've even finished as he raised for a point of order, because remember, all through the issue of election friendly in Kenya, Kenyans share sugar, Kenya form businesses together, but only during election friendly that we fight each other and we kill each other. We shed a lot of businesses together, but only during election. So therefore, we have to really discuss this issue. We shed a lot of blood and make sure that it is in line with our election. So therefore, we have to really discuss this issue. We have soberly and make sure that it is in line with our constitution. We have benefited with your guidance every day, especially for us who are new members. Honorable Kerry have said, how I wish benefited, I wish to see you with your guidance every day, especially for us who are new members. So that you can guide us even further. I wish to see you, Honorable Speaker, as CEO I do seek your guidance on those, so that you can guide us even further, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I do seek your guidance on those matters that I've raised. Thank you.
Today, choose. How is it that the member for to deal with the same? and even the resolution of dispute. If you go to 88 clause 4, if you go to E, D, and E, they're very clear. But we will deal with that, including continuous voter registration, so that those who are evicted from Kibra are still entitled, so they can still continue to register. So, and of course, continuous voter education, all of it. All of that is captured in Article 88, clause 4. All of them are listed down there. So we will deal with that, I think. Honorable Kimunya, you want to weigh into this?
And to put into effect the pronouncements by the courts arising from the challenge over the 2017 election. And all the pronouncements that were made by the court on IBC have now been brought in to this House so that we can amend the law to ensure that the electoral process is better for the 2022 election. I just wanted to have that also on record.
Chair of JLAC, you want to wait in also? Or we can proceed?
You are going to, these matters are going to be considered in the second reading, or you are going to give a ruling representations. Although
whatever it is that I'm going to do does not in any way impede
JK is a member of
your work.
I was just trying to, you also perhaps consider, in considering KJ, consider the import of the phrase, although he's a member of my committee. To what KJ was saying, JK is a member of JILA. You also perhaps consider, right, there is a, consider the import of the phrase article in reference to what KJ was saying, every undue citizen has the right without appeal, without unreasonable restriction. 38.3, whether what he was talking about is every reasonable unreasonable citizen has the right to vote, to get registered, all those without appeal, without unreasonable clause. Unreasonable saying that whether what he was talking about is reasonable restrictions. You have to vote to consider whether what is proposed by the bill, in terms of constitutionality, unreasonable or reasonable. There is a right there.
Well, we'll consider all that.
To consider whether what is proposed by the bill, in terms of constitutionality, unreasonable or reasonable.
Obviously, at liberty to.
Thank you.
Well, to engage we'll consider all that. We'll consider all that. Discuss. But in the meantime, the honorable on the floor, member for the Agurati South will, as a member of your committee, will also be obviously at liberty to engage in the members and discuss for the convenience of the House on the floor. This is a matter that was discussed by the House Business Committee, and with great input from the Honorable Dr. Makali. Honourable members indeed agree as House Business Committee for the convenience of the House at whatever time matter that was discussed by the House Business Committee. If the Budget and Appropriations Committee, great input from the Honorable Dr. Makali Mulu, we did agree as House Business Committee that various other related matters in today's proceedings, if the Budget and Appropriations Committee will be on the chair is ready to table whatever the budget policy statement, and for the convenience of the House, various other related matters to order numbers 5 and 6 by the whoever will be on the chair to table
order number 5 papers.
For the convenience of the House, I revert to orders.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and thank you so much for your indulgence. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, February 15, 2022. Report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on its consideration of thank you so much for your the budget policy statement for the financial year 2022-2023 on the table of the House today, Tuesday, February 15, 2022. Report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on its consideration of 1. The budget policy statement for the financial year 2022-2023
order number 6, notices of motion.
2. The medium-term debt management strategy for
Honorable
the financial
Speaker,
year 2022-2023. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Honorable Speaker, thank you so much. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House adopt the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on the budget policy statement for the financial year 2020-2023, laid on the table of the House Tuesday, February 15, 2022, and A, approves the budget policy statement for the financial year 2022-2023. B, makes the policy resolution as contained in the report. C, approves the budget ceiling for the financial year 2022-2023 as set out in the financial resolutions contained in the report. And D, further resolves that the budget policy statement so approved forms the basis for the introduction of the Division of Revenue Bill 2022. Honorable Speaker, I also beg to give notice of the following motion, that the House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on the medium-term debt management strategy for the financial year 2022/2023, laid on the table of the House Tuesday, February 15th, 2022, and A, approves the medium-term debt management strategy for the financial year 2022-2023, and B, further makes the policy resolution as contained in the report. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Now, the other decision which had been taken by the House Business Committee is that should you lay your two reports and give notice today, we give members a chance to go through those two reports and then debate on your business, on the two businesses, commences tomorrow afternoon. And therefore direct that the business of the two reports be included in the order paper for tomorrow afternoon, Wednesday 16th. I see the member for Mwea has an issue.
Honorable Speaker, lead a note. I don't have any issue, and I don't know how the two buttons went on. But thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I think one of the things is just to congratulate you for what is going on. I think that's what nature wanted me to do.
Thank you, Honorable Kavinga.
Order number 12, special motion, approval of the National Assembly's nominee to the Equalization Fund Advisory Board.
This is a motion that the Honorable Boni Maluko.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that taking into consideration the recommendation of the Departmental Committee on Finance and Planning on its report on the recruitment of National Assembly nominees to the Equalization Fund Advisory Board, and pursuant to the provision of Section 8 of the Public Appointment Parliamentary Approval Act 2011 and Paragraph 4.1d of the Public Finance Management Equalization Fund Administration Regulation 2021, this House approves the appointment of Mr. Abdullahi Adan Karif to the Equalization Fund Advisory Board. As you are all aware, the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning was on Tuesday 9th November 2021 tasked with the responsibility of recruiting a nominee of the National Assembly in the Equalization Fund Advisory Board for subsequent appointment in accordance with Regulation 4.1d and Regulation 4.2 of the Public Finance Management Equalization Fund Administration Regulation 2021. These regulations were published with the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Planning on 29th April 2021, feed legal notice number 54 of 2021, pursuant to Section 2051 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012. The regulations were approved by the Parliament on 12th October 2021. The regulations provide a framework for the administration and management of the Equalization Fund. Paragraph 4 of the regulation provides for the establishment of the Equalization Fund and Advisory Board, whose membership, among others, as per paragraph 4.1, comprises one person from pastoral community nominated by National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, through a letter dated 25th October 2021, the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Planning has requested the National Assembly to nominate a member to serve in the Equalization Fund and Advisory Board for subsequent appointment in accordance with the Regulation 4.1D and Regulation 4.2 of the Public Finance Management Equalization Fund Regulation 2021. Upon conferencing the message from the CS, the Honorable Speaker directed the Parliament Committee on Finance and Planning to undertake nomination process competitively and report to the House within set timelines for final determination and subsequent appointment of the nominee by the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary. Further to this, the committee was then required to constitute a selection panel to undertake the nomination process. In order to kickstart the recruitment process, the Office of the Clerk of the National Assembly placed an advertisement in the print media on Thursday, 16 November 2021. The applications were to be received on all before Wednesday, 1st December 2021 at 5 p.m. East African time. Honorable Speaker, at the close of the application period, the committee received application from the following 9 names. Ms. Sophia Yusuf Gure, Mr. Boniface Otieno, Mr. Jasho Guyo Maku, Mr. Mohamed Ali Farah, Ms. Nasi Oudo Dara, Mr. Mohamed Juma Abdi, Mr. Abdullahi Adan Karif, Mr. Fozia Ibrahim Sheikh, and lastly, Mr. Victor Pogisio Megich. After a long listing of the applicants, the committee undertook shortlisting where it took into account the following qualification for application as set out in the advertisement. One must be from a pastoralist community, be a Kenyan citizen, hold a degree from university recognized in Kenya, have at least 5 years professional experience in a relevant field, and lastly, meet the requirement of Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, while shortlisting, the committee scrutinized application documents and established that all applicants submitted their application within set timelines and met the above requirement, except Mr. Boniface Otieno and Nazi Oudo Dara, who did not meet the requirement within definition of pastoralist community. Honorable Speaker, based on the criteria provided by Public Finance Management Equalization Fund Administration Regulation 2021, the following applicants were shortlisted for nomination for the appointment to the position. 1, Sophia Yusuf Gure, Mr. Jasho Guyo Moku, Mr. Mohamed Alafari Farah, Mr. Mohamed Juma Abdi, Mr. Abdullahi Adan Karif, Ms. Fozia Ibrahim Sheikh, and Victor Pogisio Migich. Then the names of the shortlisted applicants were published in the print media on Monday, 17 January 2021. Through the advertisement, the public was invited to submit by way of memoranda on oath any information on stability or otherwise of any of the shortlisted applicants to serve as a member of the Equalization Fund Advisory Board. The committee also wrote to the Kenya Revenue Authority, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Director of Criminal Investigations, Higher Education Loan Board, and Office of the Registrar of Political Parties, seeking references and background checks relevant to the suitability of the shortlisted candidates. The committee thereafter developed an interview tool for the nomination of applicants for appointment to the position, which was adopted as a guide to assess applicants during the interview process. The candidates were interviewed on 26 January 2022. Each member of the committee scored the candidates based on how they performed. The results were then analyzed by doing an average of the scores awarded by each member of the committee. Honorable Speaker, upon consideration and determination of the interview results, the committee recommends that the House nominates Mr. Abdullahi Adan Karif, who scored the highest marks at 75.5%, for appointment by the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary to serve on the Equalization Fund and Advisory Board in accordance with Regulation 41D of the Public Finance Management of Mandera County, born in 1992, and holds a bachelor degree in economics, AVA second class, from the University of Nairobi. He has a cumulative 8 years work experience where he has worked in various capacities, including consultant services. Based on how Mr. Abdullahi Adam Karif responded to questions posed by members, panelists, and having met the following minimum requirement, the committee recommended him for the position. Being a pastoralist, being a Kenyan from Mandera County, holds a degree from Adikongra University, that is bachelor degree in economics, has at least 5 professional experience in relevant field. Of course, he has 8 years experience. Met the requirement of Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Besides the minimum qualification, the committee also paid due regard to other constitutional requirements, principles such as regional and gender balance. Honorable Speaker, it is worth noting the House that current Equalization Fund and the Board membership comprises of 5 persons drawn from Garissa, Isiolo, Marsabit, Sabulu, and Nairobi counties. It is for this reason that the committee has not had to make a delicate balance, and in turn added the view that the appointment of a new member to the board from the counties whose members are already serving on the board will disadvantage other counties. With a new board in place, the incomplete project that had been started will now be completed, and they will achieve the intended purposes. The committee would like to register its utmost appreciation to the Office of the Speaker, the Clerk of the National Assembly, and its Secretariat for the logistical and technical support accorded during the recruitment process. With those remarks, I urge you this House to approve Mr. Adan Karif to be appointed as a member of the Equalization Fund and the board. I now invite the Honorable Jimmy Agwenyi, MGH, Member of Parliament, to second the motion. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Agwenyi.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second this recommendation of the House of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning. Mr. Speaker, this Kenyan scored the highest marks on the interview. This Kenyan also fulfills, he helps us to complete or to try to achieve regional balance. Before that, we had members of that advisory committee who come from Garissa, Wajir, Marsabit, Samburu, and Samburu. We didn't have anybody from Mandera. So with our if our recommendation is approved by this House, we will also be, in a sense, balancing the regional representation in this committee. Mr. Speaker, I beg to second.
Order. Honorable Kabinga, Honorable Pondo. I will propose a question, which is that taking into consideration the recommendations of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning in its report on the recruitment of the National Assembly's nominee to the Equalization Fund Advisory Board laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, February 9, 2022, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011 and Paragraph 41D of the Public Finance Management Equalization Fund Administration Regulation 2021, this House approves the appointment of Mr. Abdullahi Adan Karif to the Equalization Fund Advisory Board. No. There are quite a number of members who have registered interest to speak to this. We shall have Honorable Ketel Gideon.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support this motion. First, I would like to thank this committee for nominating a very young professional. Mr. Speaker, the nomination of Abdullahi Adan Khalif inspires many young men and women out there to dream big. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Khalif is a youth, and rarely young people actually get the courage to go through such processes, because we are coming from a tradition where young people are marginalized when it comes to jobs, government jobs, and especially if someone is coming from a marginalized group. And according to Article 56 of the Constitution, requires the state to put in place affirmative action programs designed to ensure that minorities and marginalized groups participate in governance and other sphere of life. Mr. Speaker, the youth of this country are extremely marginalized when it comes to government jobs. Mr. Speaker, the nomination of Mr. Khalif, by this committee and this House will reinstate the faith of young men and women to have faith in this House. The youth of this country will know that when they appear before this House, they will be given an equal opportunity. I understand Mr. Khalif has a background in economics and law, which will greatly help him to effectively represent the House in the Equalization Funds Advisory Board. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I wish Mr. Khalif all the best as he undertakes this task in serving this nation, in this board, and in other leadership positions he may hold in the future. With those many remarks, I beg to support this motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Nur Sophia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this chance. From onset, I want to thank the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning. They have gone and did a lot of work in identifying and nominating the person by the name Abdullahi Adan Khalif. Mr. Speaker, as you know, Equalization Fund is a principle in the Constitution. It is a constitutional issue that is supposed to address issues of marginalized communities in this country. But, Mr. Speaker, Equalization Fund had a lot of challenge for a while, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when the first resources fund were released for Equalization Fund, Thereafter, there have been a lot of challenge and nothing was operational for a while. So, to kickstart the fund, then it was necessary that pass the regulation, and the regulation demanded, Mr. Speaker, that among the members who will sit in the Equalization Fund Advisory Board will have a pastoralist person, a person from pastoralist community with certain qualification, Mr. Speaker. And Abdullahi Adam Khalif, having met all the qualifications required, Mr. Speaker, I do support 100%, Mr. Speaker, because these funds need to operational immediately. And without a board, then we'll not be able to benefit as a country. And this country is looking forward to benefit from the Equalization Fund, Mr. Speaker. It is long overdue that this fund has not benefited the intended beneficiaries in this country. We know there are many, many people who are supposed to benefit from Equalization Fund. But because of the challenges that were there, and because the advisory body was not there, regulations were not there, now that the regulation is in place, the advisory body is in place, and only Abdullahi Adam Khalif is the person that is not there to kickstart the Equalization Fund. That's why this afternoon I stand here to support the nomination of Abdullahi Adam Khalif. And once again, I want to thank the committee again for doing thorough work and identifying a person who is qualified to sit on that fund, Mr. Speaker. I want to wish Abdullahi Adam Khalif and all the other members of the Equalization and Fund Advisory Board that may all the best in their undertaking, their mandate, Mr. Speaker, to kickstart the Equalization Fund. Thank you so much.
Honorable Otiende Amolo.
Actually, Mr. Speaker, I was understanding Order 95, saying that everyone who's rising on their feet is supporting. I thought it is right for the mover to be called to reply, and we passed the nominee. Those who are saying no, you risk some people coming to oppose, and then you restart this process. Thank you.
Well, honorable members, I need to establish the mood that Honorable Otiende says he can tell what the mood is. I need to put the question that the mover be now called to reply. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think it's very important, not only to the pastoralists, but also to the younger people, to take position in this country so that at least they can also take leadership. You know, there are so many parts of this country which can be for the purpose which it was made for. So with those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I reply.
Honorable members, we shall not put the question at this time. We shall put the question on that particular item until such a time the House Business Committee shall allocate it. Next order.
Order number 13, special motion. Approval of nominees for appointment to the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights.
Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Who are you? Mr. Speaker, I don't know whether I should lead the whole motion, but as yes.
Honorable Chair, you must read the whole motion.
Yes, okay.
You must move.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your direction. that taking into consideration I beg to move this motion that taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as chairperson and members of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, February 10th, 2022, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 250, Sub-Article 2, Sub-Article B, Roman B, of the Constitution National